So you were telling us the weapons had been paid for by the CIA.
That's correct.
What else were you told?
And that the training would be done by what I told you before. It would be done by the SSD. Dumuya would conduct the training, and that Liberians would be brought to Sierra Leone for the training, and that was done.
Now help us. Why were you, incarcerated as you were, in the Plymouth County Jail, being told this?
The relationship between General Quiwonkpa and myself was very strong. As a matter of fact, I may have not mentioned, I had suggested to the general that Dr. Famole be contacted and brought on board. But
when have you suggested that?
Oh, I suggested that to the general while I was in prison in the United States. And I said to him that he needed some very strong people around him, and Dr. Famole was brought on board.
So, what are you telling us? Were you conspiring with Quiwonkpa and others to stage a coup in Liberia?
Yes.
And why were you conspiring with others to do that?
Well, then we have to add the history to this. Let's don't forget, the progressives and the majority of Liberians want Doe and the PRC to return to barracks. Doe does not want to return to barracks. General Thomas Quiwonkpa, is then removed from his place because he is supporting the return to civilian rule. A coup is planned then. It does not take shape. We flee. I go out of the country. He goes into hiding. A group of those individuals that were supporting the coup in Liberia get disgruntled and go up to Nimba and raid certain company. It's called the Lamco Mining Company. Doe begins to carry out the beginning of the killings in Nimba. We are all out. We are still planning. General Quiwonkpa succeeds in getting out. And the whole process is continuing. So we do not stop because we are determined. Now I'm in the prison, and Quiwonkpa now gets in America. He has the backing of the government of the United States, but the CIA must operate with their well, at least the acquiescence at certain levels, and the whole thing is rolling. I mean, I see this as a way of survival myself. If it succeeds, I know I will come out of jail, because if sufficient pressure is put on the United States government, by pressure, let me see, if they are sufficiently convinced, there's very little pressure you can put on the U.S. government. But I mean, if I stay in jail long enough for them to be convinced that, okay, well, maybe we can send him and nothing would happen, I'll be a dead man. So I too am anxious, and I want it to happen.
Now, help me with something else, Mr. Taylor. On the one hand, you have told us earlier this morning of the extent of United States largesse towards the Doe government in terms of financial assistance. Now you're telling us that an agency of that same government was planning or assisting Quiwonkpa to overthrow that same government. Can you help us with that, on the face of it, contradiction?
No, there's no contradiction. The assistance to the Doe government covers the period from the PRC to the end of his government and his assassination, well, his killing by Prince Johnson at the beginning of the revolution that we launched. Now, within that period of time, that is before the elections of October 1985.
Which elections were?
In Liberia. Doe is not really favored by the I would say the international community to really stay on. What these people apparently were doing, they assisted Doe in ways that were sufficient to encourage him to leave. He probably interpreted the assistance as them wanting him to stay. But the views of the strong man, as he used to be called, General Thomas Quiwonkpa, Thomas Quiwonkpa was really liked by the international community, and the views coming from him and most of the other segment of the Liberian society was for the army to return to barracks. So there's nothing out of the ordinary that when this coup fails and immediately thereafter, several months after, Doe brings forward an election in October of 1985. That election of 1985, Doe says he wins by 50.9%. The international community and all Liberians believe that there's another candidate in this particular electoral process called Jackson Doe, no relationship to Samuel Doe, actually won the elections. So here we have it. Here's a man that they do not want. Someone else wins the election. He takes it. So all systems now are open to General Quiwonkpa to hurry up. And if we can touch this point, in November of 1985, Quiwonkpa attacks.
Okay.